I've always been kind of like a tough guy. I played football in high school and I try to lift every single day, but I also really like tulips. Tulips are my favorite flower because I like the way they look, but the interesting thing about tulips is they're also a symbol for financial education. Tulips are originally from Turkey, and when Turkish merchants brought tulips to the Netherlands, the Dutch fell in love, and tulips kind of became like this symbol of luxury because they were this really rare flower and obviously they're really beautiful. And then what happened is you saw people in the Netherlands start to buy tulips, not just because they're a nice flower, but because people wanted to own them as a status symbol. And so then people started to buy up the price of tulips, and you saw the price of tulips started to rise. Now the Dutch farmers and merchants were getting rich buying tulips because they would buy tulips one day, and then when they would go around to sell the tulips, they would be able to sell it for so much more because there were so many people that wanted to buy tulips and not enough tulips out there. Everybody wanted tulips in their garden because it was a real status symbol, and if you had tulips, it meant you were rich. And so now these farmers and merchants were getting so rich that the investors started to get excited. They thought, if the farmers and merchants can get rich by buying tulips, why can't we do it too? So then the investors started buying up tulips, not to sell them in the open market or to plant them, but because they saw them as a great investment. Now here's the thing, if you're an investor, you don't want to be the person going to auctions or growing tulips or doing any of that. You just want to be in the business of managing money. So the investors then started creating tulip derivatives. That way they didn't have to own or take care of these actual tulip bulbs. They could just trade these pieces of paper. So now investors started creating these tulip derivatives, and lots of people had the ability to now go out and buy tulips on paper because now you can invest in tulip bulbs. That's when tulip prices really started to skyrocket, because now you had everybody trying to buy tulips, not to plant in the front yard, but so you could get rich, because tulips were going up in price so fast. It got to the point where people were literally selling their houses or refinancing their houses. That way they could go out and buy one tulip bulb because tulip prices were going up so fast and everybody was getting rich buying tulips. Now you have tulip bulbs costing as much as a house, and you have these farmers and merchants sitting on all these tulip bulbs thinking, wow, we are rich. Let's sell some of these tulip bulbs, that way we can cash in on all of our profits. So the farmers held an auction to sell out their tulip bulbs, and guess what? No one showed up. Nobody actually wanted to buy the tulips, and nobody really wanted to pay that much money to own a tulip bulb. People were buying tulips not to own tulips, but just so they could get rich quick. When the farmers started to realize that, they had to cut the prices of the tulip bulbs significantly so somebody would actually buy it, and that's when the price of tulip bulbs crashed, and now everybody that had refinanced their homes or sold their homes to buy a tulip bulb were left holding nothing except a pretty flower. This is a true story. It was called Tulip Mania, and it happened in the mid-1600s, and this was the first recorded financial bubble in history. After that financial bubble, we've seen market crashes happen again and again and again, not with tulips, but with other assets, because people will always be greedy, people will always be looking for speculative investments, and people will always look for a way to get rich quick. When you have all three of these things that are fueled now by cheap and easy debt, that's how bubbles are created. And once a bubble hits a peak where now people are not willing to buy more of this thing, that's what causes the bubble to burst, and now you have a bubble boom and bust. That's why the first thing you gotta do if you wanna be able to survive or thrive through the next market crash is understand market crashes. So every asset class and our economy goes through cycles, kind of like this, where you have boom phases and bust phases, but over time, you see the overall kind of baseline of this thing go up. So if you're talking about the stock market, you see stock prices go up and down and up and down and up and down, but over time, you see the value of the stock market go up. When people talk about market crashes, the most common thing that they're talking about is the stock market, and you see these type of stock market booms and busts happen every 8 to 15 years or so. What happens is people start buying assets, and the economy grows and companies grow, and then the price of these assets start to go up, and that's when the media comes out and they say that this asset price, the stock, cannot stop growing and is booming, and this gets more people excited. Then people start coming and buying more, and now the media gets even more excited, talking about how everybody is getting rich, and now the speculators get so excited and everyone's talking about how they're getting rich, and so now people are going into debt, talking about all these stocks and assets that they're buying, and now you're going on your Uber drive and your Uber driver is telling you about how they refinance their home, that way they can put their money in the market, and this causes asset prices to soar even more, and eventually you hit a breaking point where asset prices go up way too high, and once that happens, people stop buying the stock or they stop buying this asset, and this causes prices to cool down. Once things start to come down a little bit, now the media comes out and they talk about how everyone's losing money and how the stock is starting to struggle and how a lot of people are starting to sell, and this causes prices to come down even more. So now people start panicking because you had all these people buying these prices right before the top, and then things start to come down, especially if you're leveraged. Now you're really in the red, and so people start panic selling. This causes the media to come out talking about how everybody is losing money and why if you want to survive you have to sell everything now, and this causes prices to go down even more. And then you have people coming out thinking, wow, this price of this asset or this stock is really low. It's below what I think it's worth. And so now people start to come back in and they start to buy, and that's when you see the cycle start all over again. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide on how to start generating passive income for free. All you gotta do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.